While Pokémon has been one of Nintendo's mascots for a long time, even popular icons go into hibernation. After the lackluster performance of Pokémon heroes, Latios and Latias, the franchise would finally begin its venture into home video territory with this sixth film installment. For some tentpole franchises, this is the kiss of death, as most don't return to theatrical releases. Additionally, that means the stories lose more and more of their connections to the original films. However, because these films are playing in line with the TV show, that hasn't seemed to be the case yet, which is good, otherwise that would really throw off the legions of fans who watch the episodes religiously. Another thing to note is, while this entry is the beginning of home video releases, it is also the beginning of other changes. The story, taking place during the 6th season of the show, follows Ash, Brock, and their new crew comprised of May and Max, where they seek to catch a glimpse of the Millennium Comet. It is said the comet contains a large amount of energy, capable of generating lots of power. Making its appearance in parallel to the comet is Jirachi, voiced by Carey Williams, a Pokemon with special powers who befriends Max, voiced by Amy Birnbaum. Where they meet is at a local festival headed by Butler, voiced by Wayne Grayson, and Diane, voiced by Megan Hollingshead. The script and direction were headed by the usual crew members, working on the past films. There's also a bit of additional support from Norman J. Grossfeld, returning for script adaptation, as well as voice actor Eric Stewart, doing direction adaptation for the first time. What both Japanese and American crews accomplish in this feature is changing the formula slightly for fans who have been wanting something more. Of course, by no means would the 6th film in the series change any newcomers, but for fans of the show, this should be entertaining enough. For once, the plot revolves around a main character other than Ash. While he is a central character, laying him off for a while is needed, and it fits in with the show since much of Season 6 essentially reset Ash and has put him more in a mentor role than a mentee. That's a nice way to show Ash is growing up, despite the fact that he's still the same age even though it seems like years have passed. But that's not something this film can really be faulted for, as fans have come to accept this. The structure of the story also has slightly changed for the better. This entry did not start off like it typically does with Ash battling some stranger, with the current season's theme song behind it. Even the continuity is adequately referenced for the most part. Unfortunately, even with all these good parts, the film does get caught up in some really juvenile things like not giving the antagonist a very clear backstory. It's certainly not as bad as the antagonist from Pokémon the Movie 2000, but there are parts that feel like more could be said. It just feels like there are parts missing. The acting, though, is still great. Veronica Taylor, who only used to voice Ash, now also plays May, and her interactions with the other voice actors is good too. Carey Williams as Jirachi is fine. The Pokemon is supposed to be childlike, so it seemed like an easy role. Mike Pollock also steps in as narrator instead of Roger Parsons, who sounds fairly close in performance. What still makes no sense as to why it would be needed is cinematography. This time not only handled by Hisao Shirai, but also Takeya Mizutani. Seriously, what is camera work needed for in animation? The only thing maybe is digital camera movement for anything CGI, but who's to say? Shirai has been doing cinematography for the series since the very first film. Lastly, Shinji Miyazaki returns as composer for this feature, which seems to remain intact even for the English release. That's also good, but again, no domestic album release. What can be said is at least there's consistency in the production, where people who've worked on an entry before come back again for another time. None of the Pokemon films have ever managed to hit groundbreaking levels of entertainment, and this one is no different. It still makes no sense how cinematography is incorporated, and the villain still doesn't have the best backstory. But the film crew that worked on these films are a reliable bunch with acceptable voice acting and good music. The direction has also been slightly modified to keep its fans' attention.